After years of silently paying for everything, my mother-in-law told me to leave so her son could take over. I divorced her daughter and let them face the debt. There was no way for my mother-in-law to know that I was paying a monthly rent of $4,200. Her eldest son and his wife wanted to start a family, so she told me to leave so that they could do so. The following day, I placed a call to movers and unexpectedly packed up everything that I owned. She was utterly petrified. In my kitchen, my mother-in-law stood as if she were the owner of the space. She said it in a casual tone, as if she were suggesting that I try a different brand of coffee. "You should move out," she said. The words, "Henry and Olivia need this place. They're trying to start a family. They need the space more than you and Sophia do," caused me to freeze, and I brought my mug to my lips halfway at the same time. She did not inquire, she did not explain, and she did not even appear to be concerned. Just now, she made a decision. While sitting at the kitchen table, my wife, Sophia, was scrolling through the content on her phone. For a fraction of a second, she looked up when her mother spoke, and then she returned her attention to Instagram. Not even a flinch, not even a defense, not even an objection. That was even more painful than Elizabeth's words was. "I am Ethan Walker, and my name is 30 years old is my age. A medium-sized technology company is where I am employed as a financial analyst. Moreover, I had been married to Sophia Matthews for a period of 2 years. In the town of Greenwich, Connecticut, we resided in a house that had 3 bedrooms. This is the kind of place that young families would give their lives to afford, with a nice neighborhood and good schools. Since the very first day of our marriage, my mother-in-law, Elizabeth Matthews, had been a constant presence in our lives. Whether it was our furniture, our meal plans, how we spent our weekends, or where we should go on vacation, she had suggestions and opinions on everything. Early on, I had learned to simply nod and maintain my silence. The son-in-law who is easy to deal with. The one who did not have a significant impact, who smiled at family dinners and helped with dishes without being asked, and who remained silent when Elizabeth made passive-aggressive comments about my career not being as impressive as her other children's careers. Over the course of 2 years, I had been completely invisible. Moreover, up until this point, I had no problem with that from a practical standpoint. With a low voice, I inquired, "When were you thinking?" One of Elizabeth's hands was waved. "Oh, not immediately. Maybe in a month or 2. Henry's lease is up in July, so that gives you time to find something smaller, more appropriate for just the 2 of you. A more accurate translation would be less expensive." I carefully placed my mug on the table, glanced over at Sophia. My response was, "Okay." And she continued to avoid looking at me. Elizabeth flashed a grin. 20 minutes later, she left, saying, "I knew you'd understand. You're always so reasonable, Ethan." It was my assumption that Henry was already texting him with the good news. At long last, Sophia raised her gaze from her phone. "You're not actually mad, are you?" "Why would I be mad?" "I don't know, you seem tense." I couldn't stop laughing. Not able to stop myself. After saying, "Your mother just told me to move out of my own house," Sophia immediately responded, "It's not your house." However, she quickly resisted the urge to say so. "I mean, it's ours, but Mom has a point. Henry and Olivia need the room. We don't have kids yet." "Yet," I stated once more. I was aware of what she was referring to when she asked, "You know what I mean?" I had been too accommodating to notice that her family was her top priority, and she meant that they had always been her top priority. On that particular evening, I was lying in bed and gazing at the ceiling while Sophia was soundly sleeping next to me. My mind wandered to the rent checks that I had been writing for the past 2 years. $4,200 is taken out of my account on a monthly basis, and it is always done on time. In total, Sophia contributed approximately $800 per month to cover the cost of groceries and utilities. When she worked as a social media manager on the side, her income was erratic. It was sometimes good and most of the time it was not. Elizabeth was under the impression that this house was a family property, that it was in some way owned by the Matthews, and that as a result of their generosity, I was living here. Neither she nor Sophia, it would appear, had any idea what was going on. I had handled all of the bills in such a quiet and efficient manner that it had become labor that was not visible to anyone. There is something that occurred in the background, something that occurred without anyone thinking about it. After rolling over, I caught a glimpse of Sophia's face as she slept. At what point did I become so simple to disregard? When I went to bed that night, I slept better than I had in months, mainly due to the fact that in the moment that Elizabeth told me to leave, I was finally given permission to stop keeping everything together. My call to Precision Movers came at 10 o'clock the following morning, and it was not for a quote, rather, it was to book them. "I need a full-service move," I told the scheduler, a woman named Rita who had been working for the company for a total of 12 years, as indicated by her email signature. A house with 3 bedrooms. Her tone conveyed a sense of surprise as she asked, "This Saturday? I want to be out by this Saturday." Without any hesitation, I provided her with my credit card number. "That's 4 days from now." "I know. Can you do it?" "We can do it. It'll cost extra for the rush." "That's fine. And you'll need to pay the deposit today. $1,800. Following the conclusion of the call, I sat down at my home office desk, which was the desk that I had purchased from IKEA 2 years prior, and assembled myself while Sophia was at her mother's house. I then retrieved my computer files. I had spreadsheets, years worth of them, with all of the major expenses in this house, including rent payments, receipts for furniture and appliance purchases, and everything else, being tracked and categorized like the financial analyst that I was. The sofa in the living room, which cost $2,100 and was purchased with my credit card in October of 2021. In December of 2021, I used my credit card to purchase a Samsung 65-inch television that cost $350. For $750, I used my credit card to purchase a KitchenAid dishwasher. I used my credit card to purchase a Whirlpool washer and dryer set that cost $1,400. My credit card was used to pay for the dining table and chairs, which totaled $2,800. On my credit card, I paid $1,500 for the furniture for the guest bedroom. I had purchased almost everything that was sold in this house. It was referred to as family property by Elizabeth. In my mind, it was mine. Tuesday afternoon was the day I began packing in a methodical manner. Clothes come in first, followed by personal documents, then books, and finally electronic devices. I didn't touch anything that wasn't totally and completely mine, which turned out to be less than they would have anticipated from me. After having a coffee date with her sister about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Sophia returned home. She then called out, "Ethan, are you home, office?" and dropped her purse on the table that I had purchased for the entryway. I responded by asking, "Are you at home?" The boxes were visible to her as she appeared in the doorway. Her grin started to waver. Her face went through a series of expressions, including confusion, disbelief, and then something that could have been interpreted as panic. "What is this? Are you packing for what?" she asked. "I'm moving out," similar to what your mother asked. "I didn't think you were serious." "Why wouldn't I be serious?" she asked before indicating in a hazy manner. "Because," she said. "Because it's a lot of work and we don't have to do this right away." Mom was just thinking out loud. She told me to move out so Henry could move in. "I'm moving out, but where will you go?" "I signed a lease yesterday. 1 bedroom in White Plains, closer to my office." That was a completely false statement. In spite of the fact that I had signed it that morning, the expression on Sophia's face made the slight deception justify it. I confronted her with the question, "You have already signed a lease without talking to me?" In all honesty, I looked. Regarding the question, "Did you talk to me before your mother told me to leave?" She was unable to provide an answer. In the morning of Wednesday, at 10 o'clock, Elizabeth arrived without prior notification. When I heard her key in the lock, I was in the living room, wrapping picture frames in bubble wrap. I was in the middle of the process. Ever since we moved in, she had one of the keys. Never before had I questioned it. She came to a halt in the doorway, holding shopping bags in her hands, and gazed at the living room, which was only half full. The coffee table was cleared, there were 4 boxes stacked by the door, and the television had already been wrapped. "Elizabeth, what's going on?" she asked. "I'm moving out." The shopping bags slipped out of her fingers. Her expression became more tense as she responded, "What? You told me to move out." "I'm moving out. You said I should move out. You didn't specify a timeline, so I picked one." She turned toward the kitchen, her voice rising. "I didn't mean this week." "When did you mean?" "I don't know. July. August. When Henry's lease is up. You said I should move out." Sophia, what exactly is going on here?" Soon after her mother's car arrived, Sophia emerged from the bedroom where she had been hiding since the moment it arrived. "Mom, I don't know. He just started packing. Make him stop." "I can't make him do anything." Elizabeth turned back to me, and I noticed a change in her expression. "I can't make him do anything." A slight crack appeared in the self-assuredness of entitlement. "This is extremely unreasonable," she stated. "You are acting like a child." I taped a box shut, wrote, "Books, office" on the side with a Sharpie, and then I remained silent. I straightened up and looked at her as I communicated with her. "Ethan, I'm talking to you. I heard you. Then respond. You told me to move out. I'm moving out." That's my response. Her jaw was functioning properly. "We need to discuss this like adults." "I'm open to discussion." What would you like to discuss? Your attitude. For one thing. My attitude is cooperative. You asked me to leave. I'm leaving. You know what I meant. Do I? The question was floating in the air like a puff of smoke. Elizabeth's face quickly became red. This house needs to stay in the family. I whispered. It's not in the family. And explained why. She halted herself and caught herself, but it was too late. It's a rental. Henry needs it. Then Henry can rent it. He can't afford it. It was my question. Can't afford what? All of the color left her face as she said, the $4,500 monthly rent. Suddenly, Sophia's head jerked up. Keeping my gaze fixed on Elizabeth, I asked. What? You didn't know the rent amount? Then she paused once more and asked, or was it covered by? I assumed it was split somehow. The question, covered by who? Was not answered by her. You thought it was covered by the family trust? I provided the information. Or maybe you thought Sophia's father was still paying it before he passed. Ethan. Sophia responded with a sharp voice. When I turned to my wife, I asked, what exactly are you talking about? I've been paying the rent every month for 2 years. $4,200 took out of my account. Nothing appeared on Sophia's face. The silence that ensued was suffocating. That's not possible. Check the bank statements. You never told me. You never asked. You never asked. On the couch, Elizabeth sat down with a heavy weight. My couch, which cost $2,100. Both of her hands trembled slightly. Her question was posed in a low voice. Who is going to pay it if you leave? You and I were both aware, so I chose not to respond. To no one. On Thursday, the movers arrived with their boxes and the supplies they needed to pack. Ryan and James are 2 young men who are, both in their late 22s, both professional and efficient in their work. After moving through the house in a methodical manner, they wrapped the furniture, loaded the boxes, and inquired about the items that belonged to me. My response was, all of them. Elizabeth returned at noon, and this time, she said, everything. It had been all morning when she had called. I had not responded to it. Upon entering the living room, she came to a complete and utter halt. After being wrapped in plastic, the couch was prepared to be loaded. There is already a television inside the truck. The dining table was taken apart entirely. You can't take everything. She clarified. I handed her a folder and said, I can take what I paid for. This is absurd. These include credit card statements, receipts, and confirmations of purchases. She opened the folder and flipped through the pages, saying, everything in this house that I bought is highlighted. The pink on her face turned into a white one. The couch, the appliances, and the dining table are all mine. As is the dining table. As she walked around the house, which was rapidly becoming empty, she appeared to be seeing it for the very first time. She murmured, what are we supposed to sit on? As she looked around, almost laughed out loud. Sophia emerged from the bedroom and immediately stated, that is not my problem. The woman had been crying. Her eyes were puffy and dark in color. Elizabeth's head snapped up as she made the announcement. Mom. He's taking the washer and dryer. I replied. I can. You can't. She said. I interrupted her mid-sentence by saying, I have the receipts, but you need, 3 days ago. You told me to leave. You didn't ask what I was paying. You didn't ask what I owned. At that moment, Ryan rolled out the washing machine on a dolly and said, you just decided that I should go. So, I'm going, and I'm taking what's mine. As she watched it go by, Elizabeth felt as though she was observing a funeral procession. Her voice broke as she voiced, Ethan, please. I responded in a low voice, no, we are able to find a solution to this problem. We can't. Why not? Because you never respected me enough to ask. It is by 6 o'clock. On Thursday, the house was completely empty. Nothing but the appliances that came with the house, including a couch, a television, a dining table, and other furniture. Not even the high-quality cookware was left. When Sophia's old pans continued to burn everything, I decided to purchase everything in the store. While sitting on the floor of the bedroom, Sophia was surrounded by the furniture that I had left behind, including her dresser, her nightstand, and the desk that Elizabeth had insisted we keep from her childhood. When I came to get my last box, she said, I didn't know, and I was surprised. I swear I didn't know you were paying for everything. How could you not know? I thought we were splitting it. I thought. She stopped, and began crying once more. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. What do you want me to say? Nothing. There's nothing to say. I picked up my box and started to leave. I'm sorry. Ethan, I paused before continuing. I gave some thought to the question, are we going to a divorce? Actually, I thought. I don't know yet, I said in an honest tone, but I'm done being invisible. On Friday morning, my phone exploded. Elizabeth, Olivia, Sophia's sister, and Henry himself all sent texts to each other. We need to talk. This is insane. You're destroying the family. Mom is devastated. Elizabeth was obstructed by me. I muted the group chat, but then I received a call from a number that I was not familiar with. I was on the verge of not responding. Ethan Walker speaking. This is David Harris, the landlord. I need to discuss your lease. My stomach immediately began to sink. What about it? Your mother-in-law called me this morning. Said you're moving out and that her son Henry will be taking over the lease. He sounded exhausted as he said, that's not how leases work. I'm not aware. But she's insisting and I need clarity. You're the only name on the lease. If you're leaving, I need 28 days notice and the unit returned to move-in condition. I gave notice yesterday. Email sent at 10 a.m. I got it. But Mrs. Matthews seems to think. Mrs. Matthews doesn't get to think anything. I interrupted the conversation. I'm the leaseholder, not her, not my wife. Me. Understood. So, to be clear, you're terminating the lease effective 28 days from yesterday? Yes. And no one else will be assuming it? Correct. There was a moment of hesitation. Mrs. Matthews is going to be upset. That's not my problem. It was true that he laughed. After I hung up the phone, I pulled up my banking app, transferred the final month's rent, which was $4,200, and added a note that said final payment. Fair enough. I'll send you the move-out checklist. After that, I contacted my attorney. He went by the name of David Brennan, and he had been practicing family law for 22 years. Just to get a better understanding of my choices, I had consulted him on Wednesday night. David. It's Ethan Walker. Ethan, how'd the move go? Finished yesterday, but I need advice. Shoot, my wife and her family are losing their minds. They're calling, texting, showing up at my new place. Can I get a restraining order? Against your wife? Against my mother-in-law? He remained silent for a brief period. You'd need to prove harassment or threatening behavior. Do you have documentation? 60 texts since yesterday. 10 calls. She showed up at my apartment this morning at 6 a.m. That might qualify. Forward me everything. I'll draft a cease and desist first. If she ignores it, we escalate. How long will that take? I can have the cease and desist letter sent today. Certified mail. She'll get it tomorrow. Do it. When Elizabeth woke up on Saturday morning, she found the letter. I was able to determine this, because she called me from a number that I had not yet blocked. It's Olivia by phone. Her voice was high and shrill as she said, "You sent me a legal letter. From a lawyer. You wouldn't stop contacting me. I'm your mother-in-law. You're a woman who told me to leave my home and is now harassing me because I did exactly what you asked. This is cruel, Ethan." No, I replied in a low voice. Cruel was dismissing me for 2 years. Cruel was assuming I was just furniture you could rearrange whenever convenient. This is just consequences. She immediately began to cry. It is actual crying. We're going to lose the house. That's not my problem. Where are we supposed to go? Figure it out like I had to. I disconnected the phone. Olivia's phone number was also blocked. A message from David Harris was sent to me via email on Monday morning. Note. This is an early termination notice for 47 Oakmont Drive. Ethan, your mother-in-law came to my office this morning with her son, Henry. They want to assume the lease. I explained that would require a new application, credit check, income verification, and first month plus security deposit. 580 is the credit score that Michael has. He brings in a total of $42,000 annually. He does not meet the requirements. In spite of the fact that Mrs. Matthews is retired and living on a fixed income, she offered to co-sign the loan. She is not eligible for the position. I informed them that they have until the 1st of July to vacate the premises. In case they get in touch with you again, I wanted you to be aware of this. It is my pleasure to have you as a tenant. In response to your question, Ray, I read the email 3 times before sending it along with a note to David Brennan. Just so you know, the disintegration of the family took place very quickly. Olivia, Sophia's sister, communicated with me on Tuesday evening using a different phone number. Because I was interested, I decided to answer. Henry and I are unable to afford to take Mom in because she is experiencing panic attacks. Please, Ethan, help her. You have to help. Why would I help? Because you're family. I was family when I was convenient. When I was paying for everything and staying quiet. Now that I'm inconvenient, I'm disposable.